think so. Good evening to you. It is Friday, October 18th at 11:16 p.m. Purdue is down. The game's not officially over yet, but I said, why the hell not? Purdue is down 35-0 with just a couple minutes left in the game. And I am clearly not in God's country, as many of you might be. John Best is first. I'm telling everybody he's first. Ross-Ade's crowd fought a valiant fight. I'm looking at it right now on TV, and the diehards are still there, but the crowd is thinned out. I'll talk about my thoughts of what I saw and what you saw here in a moment. But first, let me thank our friends at Home Field Apparel. Head over to homefieldapparel.com, enter Boiled25 at checkout, get 15% off your first order. And also, when you're on campus, head to AJ's near the fire station. That's eatajs.com. Burgers, beef, beer. Greatest people in the business. Good food. Can't go wrong at AJ's. So if you had high expectations coming to this one, I appreciate it. I like I said to many of you in the quick cast leading up to this one, I don't ever want to rain on anybody's optimism. I just don't want to do that to somebody else. But I didn't have it. I didn't have high expectations. I didn't feel like good things were coming by any means today. And sure enough, Purdue played in the manner that I thought they would. Kind of a no surprises type game where Oregon handled Jones, used this term. Other people said this, like, teams play Purdue and they kind of play with their food and just kind of mess around. Didn't look like Oregon needed to do too much to create space between Purdue and them. They just looked better all over the field. Purdue's running backs look good. Both Love and Maccabee had some good runs, and so did Ryan Brown. But the passing game looks completely non-existent. I'm going to look at the stats here, see if I'm exactly correct, but I think Brown had like 60 yards passing with now just a minute 53 left in the game. But that's a problem when the offense only has one way to move the ball and defense can take it away because there's nothing happening. You're not going to win many games. You're not going to be able to score ever. So today, interestingly, for an entire quarter of the defense, or 3/4 of the third quarter, Purdue's defense stiffened up. They stopped Oregon from scoring 4 straight drives. So if that's another positive. I guess there's a couple positives there. But in the first half, it was the same script we've seen most of the season, where a team gets out on a lead and just kind of is able to get into cruise control. That's the whole story. A couple things stand out to me that maybe aren't the biggest things, but they were glaring to me tonight. Purdue, and I don't know, there's a couple of themes we've seen this year. The defensive backs don't ever turn to find the ball. We're starting to see that same thing when linebackers or ends drop into coverage. Short yardage situations. Purdue never turns around to find the ball. I mean, when you see a guy's eyes get as big as saucers, you should probably turn around and say, there's a ball coming my way, and they don't do it. So that's one thing we see over and over in coverage. That's a defensive problem. And on the offensive side, I keep seeing this, and tell me if you guys disagree, but it seems to be glaring to me that the blocking on the outside, the receivers trying to create space. If there's a run to the outside, they just miss. And it's not just wide receivers, it's tight ends, whoever. And that's tough to watch because all the little things that Oregon does, you watch a team that every, I is dotted and T is crossed. And then you watch Purdue play and you see a team that literally the details just don't matter. And they look very outgunned, but to me, again, it was just an uninspiring game by Purdue. Kind of listless effort. You had Ross-Ade's crowd. I mean, the crowd again, excellent. You have a 1-5 team coming into a game, and the crowd was absolutely lathered up. Full Ross-Ade. Oh, it's a good play. Looks like a completion to Max Clare. Gain of 15 or so. So Purdue is doing what they've done a couple times, kind of marching down the field, but they've stalled out inside the 20 or 30 a couple times. I don't know if they can punch it in. 30 seconds left. But anyway, let's look at the stats real quickly that are not complete yet, but they're close to complete. So I'll go over them real quick. Ryan Brown, 8 of 17 on the night, 93 yards passing. So jumps way up with that last play to Claire. Right now, Brown is dropping back in a shotgun, looking deep down the right sideline. Intercepted the end zone. Fitting. So Brown kind of slung that sidearmed. I think that's his normal delivery. And yeah, Oregon slams the door on Purdue. 21 seconds left, 35-0. Oregon's going to get the ball on the 20 after touchback. Yeah, it's looked like a good job by Morissette just trying to. That wasn't Morissette. So, yeah. But, yeah. Game's pretty much, it's over for all intents and purposes. Ryan Brown will finish with 9 of 18, 93 yards passing. His first interception of the game was his second go, 9 of 19 now. Reggie Love, great game, 11 carries, 93 yards rushing. Had a couple big hard runs where he finished really well. Ryan Brown had a couple good hard runs, 14 carries, 48 yards. One of the things we saw over and over tonight was plays would break down and 2 Oregon guys would be in his face. Like literally no place to go. Nothing Brown can do about that situation. It's just like the play calling was, everything developed so slowly. And it's just like Oregon looked like they're in another gear Purdue couldn't get into. Devin McAvee, 10 carries, 46 yards, solid game. And if you look down the Shamar Rigby had a catch. Merriweather had a catch. Let's see. Morissette had a catch and looked like he kind of got hurt at the end of it. Was kind of slammed on his tailbone. But I think he came back in later. Let's see. Oh, that was a rushes. Pardon me. Rigby had a rush. Dagnabbit. I'm looking at the wrong column. Rigby had a rush. I didn't even see it. Sorry, Mom. But let's see. Max Clare, 3 catches, 32 yards. Morissette, 2 catches, 22 yards. Again. Swinski, Edrin, and Tibbs all had a catch. Again, it's really tough. As Purdue fans, we are obviously spoiled with the idea that offense comes first. You know, this is something that is going to deepen the bones at Purdue. And to see Purdue blanked over and over and over where they just can't move the ball is tough. This game, though, I mean, like, unlike some of them, there are at least some things positive. It's not, I guess, not horrendous where they didn't get beaten by 1,000. Just felt like they're going to. All right, let's go through comments. Sorry, I'm rushing through this. I'm in vacation mode and I'm driving home tomorrow early in the morning. And so I figured, well, I'm going to get this thing put to bed early and get myself to bed a little bit earlier than I thought it would be. But do appreciate everybody being here. Thanks for everybody who's tuning in live. Thanks for everybody who's listening, maybe on delay, maybe on the way home from God's country, sitting in traffic like we're known to do if we are leaving Ross 8 after a late game. Or I apologize. Greg McManus says, game's still on technically. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Boiler Bugle says, Ed Albanese, the king of all things gummy, whether bears or worms, says he's first, but he was not first. He was actually, what, 1, 2, 3, fourth. So nice try. Karen Grulock says, I'm dead, but nice to see you. Hope you're having fun. That's a little bit of little hyperbole. Greg McManus says, undisciplined. It's coaching, lack thereof. Can't argue with that, Greg. Let's see. Mark Garrity says, not as bad as it could have been. And I agree. It felt like it was going to be 56 or something, you know, after the first quarter. That 14-0 start always gets me. First quarter 14-0 is rough. So, go to bed. Night. Yeah. The Purdue fans in this house are down for some reason. Let's see. Greg Mann says, offensive line is a tire fire instead of a dumpster fire. Offensive line isn't giving anybody any chance to do anything. It wouldn't matter if it's Card or Brown tonight. No Purdue quarterback would have been able to be productive with the way things as they look. And how many penalties did they have just from, coming out of their stances? We saw it 3 or 4 times in one possession, if I remember correctly. Just slop. Mark Garrity says they didn't attempt to pass in the first quarter. Yep, that's it's wild. It's wild that a team that had so much momentum versus Illinois, and I think many of you pointed at it. I pointed at it the pregame. That there was a chance that Illinois game was fool's gold. Looks like it was. Looks like it was an isolated event. But yeah, the play calling was uninspiring. The fact that Brown didn't even get a chance to complete a pass. Maybe they thought they'd set up the pass with the run, but it didn't look like they were doing anything that was too inventive that was going to do that. Wasn't going to create any space. Tough to watch. MSP138 says, can't even cover at 30 plus. Yeah, so if you're a betting person, you're probably let down. But also, if you're a betting person, you're probably wise enough to see they were trying to draw you in. So, no, they can't cover. John Hawks says, we are not good, period. I don't think I can argue with you. Ed Albany says, this is a really poor performance at this point. Not sure we'll win another game. Sorry about sound negative, and Walter's job is in jeopardy big time. Yeah, there are a lot of people that think they understand what's coming. There is a theory going around that Walter's last day will be tomorrow, and I don't know anything. I had Handel, who's the next guy, said he was asking me what I thought about the situation, and I just don't. I don't know what you gain. I don't know what you gain if you do that this early. What do you do, guys, girls? What do you do? You guys have a lot of answers. What does Babinski do? Firing him tomorrow or whatever, as some people are hinting at, thinking it's going to happen, like they have the script in their hand. I don't have that same script, but if you fire him, who coaches? I don't know the answer to that. Handel Jones says Oregon was merciful tonight, and I tend to agree. Boiler Bugle says in the third, the D stiffened up, or did Oregon just let off the gas? Yeah, Boiler, I think that I think that's a combination of things. It looked like Oregon was bored or not going to show anything to their upcoming opponents, show as little as they could in this Purdue game. They were doing very vanilla things. My son was at the game. He said Gabriel just checks down every single play, and I think he's accurate. A lot of checkdowns. He didn't need to do much more. Purdue was trying to take away the deep ball clearly, and in the process of doing that, their receivers would break off their routes underneath, find the soft spot in the zone, easy peasy. I want to look at that. Let's see. What are we doing on defense? I didn't even talk about really. Yanni Karlaftis led everybody with 8 tackles. Breedlove had 8 tackles. Smiley Bradford had 6 tackles. Hud Miller had 5, and he's been getting a lot of playing time last few games, making a big impact. Dylan Thieneman, unusual not to see him at the top of the leaderboard here, with 5, and Will Helt with 4 tackles. Helt had another tackle for a loss. Antonio Stevens had a pretty big play, tackle for a loss. Not much else to write home about, really, on that side of the ball. So I don't know if there's anything to write home about on either side of the ball. Okay, so John Best says Walters looks like he's defeated physically on the sideline. He does. I agree. Body language or whatever, posture says that. I agree. Seth Harder says defense looks completely unprepared in the first half. Ryan Brown and the running backs the only bright spot. Yeah, I think that's relatively accurate. The big thing is that, what Brown completed 50% of his passes. Purdue did not move the ball with regularity on offense. Some of that has to come back on the quarterback. As much credit as we gave him last week, it's easy it's a second start. It's a hard position to be in, but got to move the ball. And that's coaching, that's execution, that's everything. So tough though. Here's the thing. You're playing the second best team in the nation. This isn't like some fluky thing. Oregon's legit, and they look legit. Purdue did not. Karen Grillock says, crowd looked awesome on TV. Yes, they did. I agree. They looked great. Brothers and sisters in black and gold really showed out. Again, that's awesome. Awesome to see. Let's see. The fan base is, that's a good point. Greg Mann says the fan base has been loyal, and they're being let down. They are. Right, Dad? Love you. Let's see. Brian T says, but hey, basketball's coming soon. Yeah, no doubt. And like my wife said, when you get the game out of the way on Friday night, you have the weekend to enjoy football. So there's that. There's a good point. Tim Eaton says OG was never threatened. Thank God they went easy on us. They were not threatened. This is the thing may bother me more than anything, and I think it bothers Handel Jones more than anything. We kind of traded a couple of quick texts, but just the lack of fight. You come out, you'd think you'd think it'd be pretty easy for Walters and company to get these guys really emotionally tuned up. And in spite of that crowd, there was no emotion on the Purdue. It didn't look, sure, down on the field might look like it. They did not look tuned up to me. And that's hard. That's hard to swallow as just a casual fan. Let's see. Ed Albany says we've become the punching bag and encouragement for other teams. Yeah, the get right game, the get well game is Purdue now. Mark Garrity says fans are awesome. It's surprising that we still have a crowd in these games, but the fans have been awesome. Game in, game out, Purdue fans have been great, and they really didn't start thinning out until midway through the third quarter. So great showing for the Purdue fans. I mean, Justin Hood says, I'm impressed by Brown to have running ability and creative ability as a true freshman. Ed looks a solid passer. He could be good later. So if you don't know it, he's not a young guy. His path is super interesting. And he talked about this in an interview. I didn't find anything too big that you couldn't find out yourself, but he went to prep school, I think, for a year because he wasn't recruited well out of high school because he left his, he transferred between his junior and senior year, and he lived on his own his senior year in high school. So I think he's older than the average freshman, and he's a little different case. He's not exactly what you think he is because of his unusual path. But yeah, it's still impressive. Second start, he looks solid. Would the offense been any better or worse with Card today? This is the thing. It would have been, they would have moved the ball probably at the same rate. How many yards of total offense Purdue have? Let's see. 300 yards of offense. Yeah, good. I mean, they ran the ball well, 208 yards of rushing, but 93 yards passing. Sorry, I can't get over these numbers. That to me is so hard to swallow that Purdue team looks like this week in, week out. Gerald Skeck. I said it wrong earlier, didn't I, today, Gerald? Gerald Skeck Tech Huff says, game thankfully over. At least the whiskey tasted good. I haven't had any whiskey. That's the other thing. So, yeah. Let's see. Nethnala says, I had tickets, didn't end up going, kind of glad. You're not the only one. Rudy Ray Moore says, it jumped on me. Is there any truth to some of the rumors going around about Walter's personal life? I'm not going to get into that, Rudy, and I'm just not. So you can dig a little deeper. I think you can find a lot of people that think they know a lot and they don't know as much as they say they do. I think that's what you're going to find most of the time in these cases. But if there's any truth to the rumors, you're going to know one way or another in the next few weeks. I think that, but I don't think there's much smoke here. I don't think there's any way we could know if there is unless we're very personally involved with the people involved. And I don't think there's any truth to it, if I'm going to be real frank, real honest. But anyway, it's just, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of message board garbage flying around right now. Doug and Angie Lotta says, I think Walters gets through the year. I think he does too. If I was Handel and I talked about that, I think he gets through the season. I agree. Nikki Asimas says, won't go to another game. Season ticket holder since 2014. Nikki, here's the thing. I said this to other people. If you want that to make a difference and you've already got your sunk cost in your tickets, two things. One, try to get those tickets to a Purdue fan just to give them a chance to go to the game. That's the first thing. As a favor, because I may be in your section and I don't want to sit next to a jerk from another school. That's first thing. Second thing, email Mike Babinski, call the office, let him know this, right? If that's what you think, you got to do it. So, speak with your wallet, speak with your action. Tim Weinbrenner says Oregon's first shutout since 2012, first road shutout since 1992. Yeah. So, no surprise, that they did it against Purdue. A lot of things were set up well for Purdue. I said this in the pregame that you have a lot of things on Purdue's side, like the letdown idea, traveling across the country, shorter week for Oregon, Purdue having some momentum or it felt like the ability to maybe do some new things on offense, and all that momentum stopped almost right away. I heard, some of you guys said maybe Oregon will come out sluggish because of the situation traveling 2 time zones or 3 time zones. And they didn't. They came out and looked like teams have looked against Purdue. So let's go and just get down. John Reinert says, this is nothing but coaching issue. Feels like it. Connor Fitch says, I was wrong about Walters. He needs to go. You're not the only one who thinks that you feel like you've been duped. I feel like I've been duped. Let's see. Greg McManus says, no emotion puts him squarely in the Hazel territory. That's exactly what this team looks like. Yeah. So I was I go through this thing. I try to think about history and how to compare it with other teams, bad Purdue teams we've seen. The funny thing is, it seems like this team has a plan and has things that are defining them, but they're not exciting. And the coaching staff doesn't know that these things aren't going to work. So they're doing what they came to do. They had a game plan. And then when they get out there, that game plan doesn't turn into anything. It just doesn't. It doesn't yield yardage. It doesn't yield a defensive advantage. There's nothing on either side of the ball. So compare and contrast that to, like Hope teams look confused a lot on the sidelines. If you remember, situationally, they looked frazzled. Hazel looked, I think, clueless, right? Just didn't look like he understood what was going on. That they looked out of their league. I think Purdue looks out of their league a lot right now, but all of them are different. It's not a lot of fun, but all these bad eras have been different for a different reason. Hope is nowhere near as bad as the last two I was just talking about, in my opinion, especially in hindsight. It's easy to say that. Dave Henry says, called coaching or lack thereof. Greg Mannis says, I had Woodford reserve with dinner. Good choice. It's delicious. Easy drinker. Nice. John Reiner, easy sipper, right? John Reiner says, portal guys we are getting now are a detriment. Need to go back to traditional recruiting and build. Purdue is still a tweener school. Yeah, the yield of productivity from the portal seems to be not what we had hoped for. How about that? Is that a nice, productive way to spend this? I think that's a good way to spend it. Let's see. Sport King say Tiller Jr. What? What are you talking about? What's that mean? What does that mean? I'm missing something? What does that mean? Yeah, Ed Albany says, did you see that Tim Stratton was back on campus? Still goofball. Yeah, I saw that he got honored. He was he was put into the Hall of Fame, Purdue Hall of Fame, I think, Purdue Football Hall of Fame. Yeah, seems like 1,000 years ago right now, doesn't it? So, yeah, it's seems like a long time ago when Tim Stratton was making plays in the offense. Was an absolute juggernaut. Let's see. Karen Grilak says, had season tickets for 28 years, never gave up. But this feels different this time. Trying to be ever faithful, ever true. Yeah, I think the big thing, I always say this, one thing the fight song reminds us, be grateful for what you got. And we're pretty blessed to be Boilermakers, but this is a rough era. This is a rough little chapter here we're going through. And if you feel like you got to walk on it, like I said, make it productive in some way, and let Babinski know why. Krish Dasgupta says, well, Purdue had 6 drives greater than 30 yards, which is actually unusual for this team. Only 2 3-and-outs. I'm not saying we're anything close to good on O, but you have to cash in. Yeah, they stalled out, went down to the 20 and 30 a couple times. Missed the kick that one time, just pushed it out wide right. Yeah, got to capitalize. You could see Walters was visibly angry after that missed field goal. So, yeah, no doubt. So Ed Albany says, okay, here's a question. Why would a prospect join Walters at Purdue next year? What is the value proposition? It's difficult. So the thing you can always recruit saying the points we're missing, right? The things that we need as a team. You're the guy to make that difference. You're the guy that can make a difference to the program right now. If you can come in and you could be plugged in right away, you can promise that you're going to get a fair look to be a starter. I mean, Purdue's shown that freshmen get on the field under Walters. A lot of freshmen play right now, and Purdue needs to develop some guys. So no doubt about it. Yeah, playing time. Right on, Chris. John Ryder said, I did not see this coming. At the same time, the expert picked us 18. Yeah, I don't, I don't particularly think the media is showing expertise by picking Purdue 18th. I really don't. I don't want to give too much credit to them, but at the same time, they did get this one right. They got it right. So inside our bubble, Purdue fans, I think the most hopeful among us thought there was a chance that things could be as Walter saw them, right? That Purdue was getting reinforcements that were coming right away, plug the gaps that they had, bolster where they needed to get some talent, and Purdue was going to be a lot better than they were last year. Instead, this team has now lost 6 straight games, 1-6 on the season. Officially, well, they're not really out of the bowl running, guys, because you can still go bowling with 5 wins. So keep your chins up. Little joke, but you can. Purdue's not going bowling. But like I've said for weeks, that bowl, the idea of a pittance of a bowl really doesn't matter anyway in this era, does it? Does it matter at all? No. Jake Tent says multiple false starts at home, including your three. I don't know what that says. Your 3-year starting center shows me failure for coach and staff. Yeah, seeing Hartwig come out of his stance a little quick was weird to me. You saw some veterans. I mean, I think we saw 3 false starts by guys who started last year in the same drive. And part of that could be just the cadence is so different under Brown versus Card. I can see that. But he practiced with the ones all week. It's rough to see. So John Reiner said, I thought we're in build mode. Yeah, not rebuild mode. Yeah, something's wrong. Well, look at that. Karen says Memphis and Zach are playing on TV right now. That's nice. So, yeah. John Reiner says thinking 6 wins. There you go. Thinking positive. So, yeah, it can happen. So, 5th. I see what you're saying, Jay. All right, that's it, guys. That was rough, and better days are ahead. I just don't know how far ahead. Keep the faith. In the meantime, next week Purdue has. Let's see. Purdue's got. I don't even know they got next week. Next week you get Northwestern. There you go. That's the one that I said. I called that the Alamo. I'll stick by that. And that game for me is the Alamo. Like I said. That's the Alamo for the coaches. Like, to me, you got to win that game. I mean, just got to win that game just to remind everybody that you're still a football team. I mean, not saying Northwestern's awful. They're not. They're pretty good. In fact, last year they did this where they got hot at about the middle of the season, and then they rattled off a bunch of wins in a row. They looked really good last week. They looked okay versus IU for a half or 3/4 week before. They're nowhere near as inept as Purdue right now on both sides of the ball. So, yeah. So, but it's a game. Purdue needs to win that game just to show they have any pulse at all. So they have to. They have to. And it's not. I'm not saying must win. Like, okay, the season for the state of the program's on there. It's really about the coaches showing some ability to prepare a team to game plan. Which, all right. Prove me wrong. Show me that you can, right? Yeah, so that's about it. Purdue loses 35-0 at Ross-Ade in a blackout. Purdue fans, well done. Again, you guys showed out. Sorry I wasn't there with you, but next home game will be there. So that is Northwestern, right? That's next week. So back-to-back games in Ross-Ade. Purdue fans will be there again next week. They'll be there. I guarantee it. All the parents, we've heard this week. Multiple parents are here listening with you guys right now and watching. So parents of players. And to all you guys, keep fighting, keep your heads up. Appreciate that you got your kids chose Purdue and you guys are Boilermakers, and hoping for better days ahead. God bless you. Talk soon. See ya. Hammer down.